Good afternoon, everyone. I am Lisa Costner. I'm a student at Gaston College in English Literature 231 with instructor Rebecca Calder, and this is my oral presentation on the Seneca Falls Convention. I have attached a PowerPoint presentation to this oral presentation so that you can follow along easily. The last slide is the works cited slide, so you can see where I obtained my information and what my sources were. The Seneca Falls Convention was the first women's convention ever, and it was held on July 19th and July 20th of 1848. According to History.com, there were two women who were instrumental in organizing this event. It was held at the Westland Church in Seneca Falls, New York, and the two women accredited with organizing the event were Lucretia Mott and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. They actually met 8 years earlier in 1840 at the World Anti-Slavery Convention in London, England. They were there accompanied by their husbands. Both these women were civil activists, and once they arrived at the Anti-Slavery Convention, they were unable to attend the convention floor because they were women. And so 8 years later, the Seneca Falls Convention was formed. The invitation to the Seneca Falls Convention, there's a picture of the actual invitation on your PowerPoint slide. But what the invitation was specific was to who was going to attend what day. July 19th was only for women. That day was strictly women. And July the 20th was for the general public, so men could attend that day. Men and women could attend that day. So, the very first day was a significant day, and according to biography.com, Elizabeth Cady Stanton had written the Declaration of Sentiments, and according to history.com, this was very similar to the Declaration of Independence. Elizabeth Cady Stanton read this on the first day, and I'm going to read this to you guys now. The Declaration of Sentiments was based on the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. The history of mankind is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations on the part of man toward women, having a direct object to establishment of an absolute tyranny over her. He has withheld from her rights which are given to the most ignorant and degraded men, both natives and foreigners, resolved. That is the duty of the women of this country to secure to themselves their sacred right to the elective franchise. And that was a very important part of this convention, is trying to secure elective franchise, or the right to vote, for women. There were some profound statements and some inequalities that were brought forward in this convention, but there are a few that I feel like are very significant that really spoke to me when I read them, and I wanted to bring them forward to point them out to everyone else. According to NPS.gov, and this is quoted, he has made her, if married in the eye of the law, civilly dead. That once you got married, the woman had absolutely no voice anymore. Every voice belonged to her husband. That she was civilly dead, which I thought was pretty profound. Taking away women's voices had made them morally an irresponsible being. And also, by limiting a woman's education, they close all avenues to wealth and distinction. And this is true. If you limit one's education, you limit everything. By taking away women's voices, they had no right to elective franchise and no representation in government. They had less rights than the most ignorant and criminal man. So in conclusion, there were 12 key issues concerning women's equality that were brought to public awareness. 68 women and 32 men signed a resolution for 11 of those issues into new laws for equality for women. This is according to nwhm.org. The only issue that was not resolved was the woman's right to vote. This was not signed into law until 1920, which was about 72 years later. And according to history.com, that's when that happened. But even though this was not resolved on this day, the Seneca Falls Convention was where awareness of women's civil rights actually began. So thank you for listening.